So today is a very special day for me today because this is the day that I have my flight booked to go back to England. And I'm not on it, I'm here instead. So this film is about this subject, and it's also about choices. Something I came across recently researching, which really struck me, is about 95% of the choices we make are not really made by our conscious will. We've got about 5%, which is a deliberately chosen choice, and the rest of it is all to do with conditioning and all sorts of other factors beyond our immediate conscious mind's control. And I found that really interesting. So here I am in La Laguna, taking the walk down from Messamota to the town centre, and I've been reflecting on the choice I've made, because it's 2 weeks ago today that I flew out from Bristol, and I thought I was going to be here for 2 weeks and then come back to England, and it was really the day of the funeral. So I was here for 4 days. Waxara's dad died. A couple of days later we had the funeral. On the day of the funeral I said to her, I feel like I want to stay with you. I feel it's important and appropriate I stay with you. I don't want you to go through this on your own. And she was very grateful and agreed. However, it's not until really today, this morning, when the opportunity to get that flight had been and gone, that it became obviously a completely irrevocable choice. And there's magic in these moments. There always is. And it reminded me of something. I've just had my first Epsom salts bath here in Tenerife, and I'm staying in the family home which has got 2 bathrooms, 2 baths. They both work. Now, having spent 18 months living in my mother's flat with no bath, you can imagine what a delight and a pleasure that is to me. I'm a bath person, especially with the Epsom salts. So healing in so many ways. Very good anti-inflammation, anti-pain, all sorts of things. Really good thing to do. So I just had one of those this morning, and I was lying in the Epsom salts bath, and I was just allowing my mind to drift, and I realised it all goes back to this. There I was, back in Accrington, back in Lancashire, hosting retreats, and this guy sent me an email. He wanted to come on a retreat, and it was particularly, he didn't want to imbibe, it was for his wife. I thought, that's interesting. And he just happened to mention that they had a baby, and he just happened to mention they have a dog. Well, there's a couple of no-nos as far as I'm concerned. No and no. And yet, as always was the case with retreats, being a shaman, being someone who listens to guidance, I was told, overruled. You're saying yes. And so I did. And we had an extraordinary time. I particularly remember the baby and the dog crashed out on the sofa on a Sunday afternoon, both in an obvious state of bliss. Priceless moment. All the participants who were there really appreciated them just enjoying being alive. It was great. Well, little did I know that he would then choose to train as a shamanic practitioner, and then little did I know that he would then ask, do you do retreat host training? To which I said, well, no I don't, but I could always start. And so I did, and he's the only person that qualified for the retreat host training program that I ran. The others did not, and we got very, very close to each other indeed. We even hosted retreats together. In fact, it was through his guidance that I understood that the green medicine is as significant, at least as significant as all the other medicines that people work with on retreat. So that was a major moment in my life. So at a certain point he suggested, let's host meetups and spread the word of shamanism through that means. And I agreed. And the very first meetup and the second meetup, which mysteriously only 2 days apart for strange technical reasons, somebody turned up, gave me a nice smile, and that's Waxara. So isn't it funny the way things go? So because I said yes rather than no to someone's request to attend the retreat, I'm now walking down this road in Tenerife, and I just find that vastly amusing. That's all part of the 95% that we don't have control over. We make choices, and next thing you know, this happens and that happens and that happens, and there you go, and here I am. So it's all quite strange for me because I only planned to be here for 2 weeks, so I had a 10-kilo bag. It only had about 8 kilos in it. Half of that, 4 kilos of stuff for me. The other half was various presents and things for different people. So I arrived with 4 kilos of stuff, and I'm now here for an indeterminate period. No idea how long I'm going to be here. So I suddenly have the experience of not having all those possessions. That in itself is amazing. And I definitely do feel lighter. I do have the awareness, of course, that at some point it will all need to be dealt with. Mum's flat's still there, my stuff's still in it, Waxara stuff's still in it, my mum's stuff's still in it, that has to be dealt with, but nonetheless, this is my life now. And it's been a massive adjustment, as you perhaps might imagine. We've had so much to deal with. We've had a few days now of being peaceful and quiet and finding our feet and working out what we need to do. Waxara has done quite a lot to make the house more habitable because it was actually unoccupied for 3 years. So it's definitely been a process getting it back into being okay to live in, and to be honest, we have everything we need. It's all fine, it's all good, which is a great thing to be able to say. Very grateful to all the efforts that she made before I even got here to make it suitable for her and her dad, which is now, through serendipity and the surprising nature of life, it actually ends up being me and her and a small dog, which she's effectively inherited. So, a different language, a different culture, completely different climate. I can hear dogs barking, cockerels crowing. There you go, there's another one for you. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm adjusting to a completely different way of life. And it's been a bit like time travel into the future, because people here have been wearing masks and putting toxic chemicals on their hands for months, which is a relatively new thing for people in England to have to get their heads around. What are they going to do about it? Are they going to comply? Are they not going to comply? And for me, not speaking the language and not able to explain my views and opinions means that I have to do my best to appear to comply. So there's a trick that most mask wearers learn very quickly, which is you make sure your nose is exposed, so it doesn't stop hypoxia, but it actually reduces it to bearable levels. And what I do is I always, when I go out, I take at least one pair of latex gloves with me, so that if I want to enter an establishment where they're going to attempt to force me to put toxic chemicals on my hands, I just put the gloves on first. They can put the toxic chemicals on the gloves. I always wipe it off as soon as I'm not within obvious eyesight range. And then just all the different things here. We have a wonderful market very nearby where there's a lot of organic vegetables, some fruits, and amazing raw honey. It's not cheap, but the quality is absolutely outstanding. Organic bread. So learning our way around. We have a spring that we go to. In the car, it's actually a lot nearer than the spring I go to in England. God, a fraction of the distance. So we go more frequently. The water's fresher as a result. Don't take so many bottles. So, yeah, I guess one of the main things I'm aware of out here, obviously apart from the sun, is the wind. It's a relatively low wind day, but a lot of the days out here it is very, very windy indeed. And when the sun is blazing and the wind is blasting, the thing to do is to stay inside. And it felt really weird at first doing this, but I realised this is what people do. A combination of strong sun and very strong wind isn't something that's easy to cope with for human beings. I discovered that very quickly. So in the near distance there's a stop sign, and beyond that stop sign, that really is the entrance to the beginning of the town proper. I do a little right and a little left, and I'm on something called Camino Largo, which is a very beautiful road to walk down. And I've shown it in previous films, and I'm sure I'll make other films which will include that site. Particularly wonderful with the really tall palm trees. They're just so tall. But I feel that I've run out of what I wanted to say to you this morning, really. So it's just huge, massive changes. We make choices. 95% is to do with things which are on an unconscious level. 5% is actual conscious choice. That's just an interesting idea to play with. And that's a little sign that tells me I've got the right street. Mesomotra, it says. And because of the wonders of having a camera, I realise it takes me 12 minutes to do that walk, which is pretty good. At first I had absolutely no idea how far away I was from the town, because going in the car, being a passenger, and it wasn't until I did this walk, I realised, my goodness me, yeah, this is doable, this is walkable, this is great. So something my mother taught me to do when I was a child, actually. I was in bed about 9 years old, feeling pretty miserable and pissed off, no idea why, and she walked up to me as I lay there in bed moaning and mithering, and she said, "Remember to count your blessings. You've got food in your belly, you've got a bed to sleep in tonight," and all that kind of thing. And it's like, that's such good advice for all of us, isn't it? Whatever it is that we have to survive and thrive, let's remember to be grateful for those things, really important. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to have a deeper experience of this island. Every other time I've been here, I stayed for a minimum of 1 week and an absolute maximum of 2 weeks. So as of this morning, that's all shattered, and I'm now here for an indeterminate period of time. Simply have no idea how long I'm going to be here for. And there was a sense of rightness about it. It's like at the moment the person I need to give priority to more than anyone else. Mother's passed, her father's passed. It's Waxara herself. And so that's the choice I've made. And I thank Neil and his family for being the catalysts that literally caused Waxara and I to meet. Very grateful for that. And very grateful to be alive in a physical body. I think that's one of the things that experiencing people's passing teaches us. Like, yeah, they've passed, they've let go of the physical body, and that is fine. They were ready to do that, and me, I'm happy to stick around, and I will learn to navigate my way through all the weirdnesses that are being imposed on us at the moment by the governments that have been bought. They certainly don't serve the interests of the citizens anymore. I think that's now game, set and match. It's just so obvious, isn't it? So we'll all do our best, and first we survive, then we thrive, and once we're thriving, that's really what it's all about. Celebrating life, the definition of a shaman that my father gave me years ago in a letter. Celebrating life, that's something we can all do. So I'm just going to end this film with this classic shot, because what I do to get back to the house, I walk up the hill and I end up, if I was to go past the house, I would end up on this. It's called Mesa Motta, and Mesa means table, so it's like a mountain top which is flat top, tabletop type thing, and at some point I'll take you a walk all the way up there. So great love to you.